Hi, you. This video is for you if you feel like since you started your journey in anti-oppression work, your life seems like it's falling apart. Everything's unsettled and everything just seems like it keeps moving and being upside down, and what used to be your certainties aren't certain anymore, and your whole life feels shaken up. This week I talked with two people. I coached two people, in particular two white women, who told me that since they started their anti-oppression, becoming awareness of their whiteness work, or making a strong stance against systemic racism, that their whole lives are falling apart. And at the same time, I've been leading a book club or a conversation online guided by the book Killers of the Dream by Lillian Smith. If you haven't read Killers of the Dream, absolutely read it. She does an incredible breakdown of what it takes to be like the white way of thinking and how it's dysfunctional. And having written it as a white person, it's really, really unique. She writes it in 1954 and then kind of does a revision in 64, I think it is. And she was King contemporary. In fact, King mentioned her in the letter from Birmingham jail as one of the white people who really get it. And in the conversation about Lillian Smith, one of the elders, one of the African-American elders, was saying to me that she was uncomfortable with some of what Lillian says about kind of Black people being healthier than white folks, because Black folk were raised with a sort of schizophrenia of performance in front of white folks and then something else behind their back. And my response to her was that that was certainly true, and that in a society that fosters separation, I don't think any of us are whole. Any of us are raised whole to be whole. And so I know lots of people have been studying how African Americans are impacted by oppression, and that's certainly an important area and an area where us white folk need to take responsibility. What's also true is that I don't think white folks are doing well. And again, I don't think this is not a society that fosters wholeness for any of us. So wholeness is a hard-earned journey. It's a healing journey that we embark upon, and it's hard-earned, sweat and tears. And it requires, I think, that falling apart, and I'll speak specifically for white folk at this point because I'm white, it's a falling apart and a coming back together again. And I think the falling apart is necessary. Well, coming back to the first two white folk that I coached this week, I think the falling apart is necessary. Because it's sort of like internalized white supremacy gives us the illusion that control gives us security and stability in life. So we are taught by our families to hold on, to go through life holding on to this false sense of security through this false sense of control. And it takes often tragic life circumstances for us to actually realize, hey, there's more to life than me hanging on. There's more to life than me trying to make it work. And when we make a conscious decision and declaration, as a lot of allies in the work do, you know what, I'm gonna start looking at my internalized white supremacy. I wanna undo racism in my own self. I want to look in the mirror. I want to undo what I've been taught to uphold oppressive systems. When that happens, I think of it as, if you think about your life as whole, I think of it as like we're shifting the whole organizing principle. So if this is the whole is organized around a core. When white supremacy and control are the core of who we are, everything else organizes itself around it in a certain position. Once we make a decision and a declaration to undo our internal white supremacy, and we take that control away, everything has to fall apart. And then it's for us to make a conscious choice of what we want at the center of our life now. Whether it's love or courage or freedom or liberation or self-expression, like whatever you decide to be the new organizing principle, everything else is going to have to fall apart because some things have to die. That's inevitable. If you change the organizing principle in your life, everything else is going to have to first change. Everything is going to have to change. Some things will die. Whatever doesn't suit that organizing principle will have to die. And some things will rearrange itself. They will around it. They will find new ways. They will find new positions, priorities in your life. And that's certainly been the experience I've had. And I think what's challenging at times is that, well, first, I think we talk too much about allyship as shifting words, like saying the right words, doing the right things. And yeah, that's a level to start in the work. Choosing non-offensive words and being willing to listen to other voices and not saying kind of screwed up shit. That's definitely part of the work. And there's this deeper part of the work that kicks in at a certain point. Like at a certain point, we get invited deeper. And deeper means when my life falls apart because I decided to give up on control as a way of being, that I have the tools and the skills to reorganize my life with love and liberation at the center. And I think this is why mentors and coaches are so important. Because unless there's someone else that can show us the way, we don't always know what's happening, and we don't always know how to let go of the old and invest in the new. We can't always discern in an unsettled moment where everything's falling apart, what is it that needs to go? And what needs to rearrange itself around the old, around the new? And what is the new that's coming that has to be nurtured and kept alive? So again, when everything's falling apart, there are the pieces that we have to let go of. There are the pieces that will rearrange themselves around a new core. And there are the pieces that we have to nurture that are just starting to sprout and prop up. And I think one of the ways in which white supremacy certainly works in me, and that I've needed my mentors for, is that like oftentimes when those little sprouts start showing up, I put them down. Like I stomp on them and go, well, that's not that important. Oh, well, that's not really it. And it takes that outside view. It takes that mentor. It takes the person who's from the outside. It takes my coaches to tell me, hey, Rita, pay attention. That's where the new is growing in you. You made that declaration time ago, and this is where this new thing is being birthed in you. Nurture it. Give it space to grow. Give it space to breathe. Give it more time in your daily schedule. Again, I can't speak more to the importance of mentors and coaches for that reason, because I know that in my life, I haven't always had that clarity of when I shifted my core and what were the things that were falling apart, the things that had to be rearranged in a new place, and the things that I had to nurture because they were the new that was being birthed. And so in particular for, thinking in particular for white allies, if this resonates with you and you're not a white ally, I'd love to know that. Feel free to comment or DM me about that. If you feel unsettled and it feels like your life is falling apart, it's okay. Like, that's just part of the process. It's not where you're going to be forever. It's not where you're going to be forever. It will change. It will shift. The new will be born. And make sure that you have a support system around you to help you make meaning of the pieces that are falling apart, the pieces that are staying, and the pieces that are coming in. Just make sure that you invest in conversations with people you love so they can help mirror that in you. Again, oftentimes what we do as a result of internalized white supremacy is we have shame around not being in control. We have shame around, because we think being in control is the goal. We've been taught to perform to be in control. And so what happens is that when we feel like we're not in control, then we start hiding and withdrawing from the people we love because we're like, we don't really want them to know that our life is fucked up right now. So my invitation is, if you feel unsettled and you feel like everything's upside down, don't pull away. Don't hide it to the people you love. Lean in. And maybe you don't share it with every person you love. Maybe you share it with discrete people who maybe you've seen go through this before. Like, start paying attention to the people in your life who had these radical shifts or transitions where suddenly, you may notice that they lost the job, the house, the boyfriend, all in the same in the same period of their life. Like, those are those huge unsettling transitions that often show up in tangible areas, but actually are part of this way of moving through. And life just oftentimes coming up with these moments of tremendous reckoning where we have to confront what has been the organizing principle of our lives. And we have to make a conscious choice about what is it that we want next. I'm Dr. Rita Fierro. I am a global social justice consultant and coach. And if you're interested at all at continuing this conversation, feel free to DM me and schedule yourself into my calendar. Hope you have a great weekend.